3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Michael Sandler here, your host on Inspire Nation, along with Jessica on the mic behind me. So glad you could join us here this evening. I'm going to try and take a few deep breaths as it has been a crazy week here. And by crazy, I mean what you see behind me is what we were seeing out our window around 3:30 or 4 on July 5th after the freight train of flames. We'll get to the freight train of flames in a moment. However, when we did our YouTube live last week, it cut off just before the end. And it turns out it cut off because a raging forest fire had just started quite literally across town. So our show was literally cut short by the forest fire. And then today we're living in Basalt, Colorado, next town over, more or less. It goes Basalt, Snowmass, Aspen. So just a little bit over from Aspen. We have been socked in with smoke and distant flame this week. And so we went for, after coaching in an interview earlier today, we went for the briefest paddle on the river by our house, because when you're on the river, the ionization of the air and you don't smell the smoke. And unfortunately, we got down to the river to the perfect pullout point at just the right time, just where the car was parked. The keys were at the other car. And so several mild adventures later, here we are. Woo. So with that said, I want to talk about fires in your life. But first, I want to share what happened with us last week. So July 3rd, the fire started while we were doing our YouTube live at about 6 p.m. We could see the flames rising after that. 7 p.m. The July 4th, huge plumes of smoke and ash going up 40, 50,000 feet in the air. The following day, July 4th, we decided to stay relatively close and keep an eye on our things. We did venture a little bit out of town to a small 4th of July parade, ended up showing up late for it. But Jessica's mama instinct was to get us home anyway. We got home 4th, fairly uneventful. 4th evening, we sat down to watch a movie rather than to head out. And there was smoke coming up in the distance. And as the sun set, we began to see flames. And soon after sunset, we got a notice on Facebook and some other reverse 911 saying the fire seemed to be under control for the evening. And kind of like you can stand down, you can relax for the evening. Just after that, we saw flames shoot up and Jessica goes, "Shut off the TV." And I shut off the TV and we watched flames, which turns out were over 200 feet high, crest the ridge in front of our house, probably about 4 miles from the house, and start racing like a freight train down the hill and toward the town and toward us. And it was I would say it was a terrifying moment, but I was actually in a little bit of denial. Somewhere around here, we have the notes that Jessica took from the event because we're going to have a show together. And I'm going, ooh, we better pack things up. And I go, first, let me let all my coaching clients know I'm not going to be able to get in touch with them. And Jessica, sensible mommy that she is saying, forget about your coaching clients. We have got to get out of here. So dropped everything, focused on the top priority. Priority number one for us. And when the flames are coming to you, knowing what your priorities are is most important. Was how do we get our kitty cats in their kennels? 2 of the 3 kitty cats are extremely kennel averse. One of them, Lumi, a rescue feral, it is to him the most torturesome event in the world. And so he will do anything possible to keep from getting rounded up. And so we're there watching flames coming toward the house, trying to pack up the kitty cats, trying to stay somewhat calm and centered. We knew what our top priority was. We actually talked about it. I said, everything is replaceable. Most important now is the kitty cats. So we worked to get the kitty cats in their kennels. Then we started packing up with what we could, understanding possessions are replaceable. What is most important in life? Most important was Jessica. Most important was the kitty cats. Then next and most important is, do we have mementos, memorabilia, photos that are irreplaceable that we want to take with us? Get them. We're packing that up. Jessica's in the studio, packing up the studio. Lumi comes sauntering in wait a second, Lumi was in his kennel. Not anymore, thanks to his claws. And he was quite proud of himself. He's out. So we're packing up the kitties. Meanwhile, we're getting reverse 911 calls. The calls are coming fast and furious. This neighborhood being evacuated, this one in pre-evacuation, this one being evacuated, this one in pre-evacuation, us in pre-evacuation. And it was quite the harrowing evening. And we had all kitties packed up and the vehicles packed up, I'd say by about 2 a.m. And then we were on standby, and we made the determination around 3 or so that we were going to treat it like a long car ride across the country where you couldn't stop. And so I got a brief bit of sleep starting at 3:30, and Jessica got the nap patrol once I got back up. It is an absolute miracle. We are filled with gratitude. Firefighters were able to stop it right at the line of houses. I was talking with somebody just an hour ago who lived in one of the neighborhoods, and the firefighters said they thought they were losing the whole neighborhood. So it's an absolute miracle. For us, we didn't have to get evacuated. That was a miracle. But what we were doing is, because the evacuations were coming later than the flames, we had to make a determination. And this is so important. If there's flames coming to you in your life, if there's fire coming toward you, that you stay calm, that you take some deep breaths, that you get centered, and you start to ask yourself, what do I need to know in this circumstance? What is most important? What are my thresholds or my boundaries? In our case, get the kitties packed, get the studio packed, everything out can wait. Now, if the fire crosses the highway, we have got to go because there's one road in and out to the house. And while there's farmland below us, and it seems like we'd be really safe, there's only one access point. And if the winds are going crazy, and we're told the winds were so 50-mile-an-hour winds blowing the storm, and the storm was generating its own lightning because the clouds from the vapor were reaching so high. And so we knew if it crossed this boundary, we had to go. Now, fortunately, we didn't have to go. We spent the next 2 or 3 days kind of living out of our car, so to speak, meaning we're in the house, but everything was packed in the car as we're watching the flames across the street. And now we're 7 days since the fire started. We're 6 days since the freight train run. And Basalt Mountain, the mountain across the street from us, still looks like a volcano, which it actually is. It's an old extinct volcano that looks anything but extinct right now. There are all these different chimneys, smokestacks of smoke coming up right now. It's ironic, smokestacks of smoke. And when the sun goes down, we'll see, probably like the last few nights, a line of flame from over the ridgetop. It's up now, though, at 8 or 9 or 10,000 feet. We're at 6,500 feet. We're relatively safe. And the fact that it's already burned a large extent of the mountain means it would have a very hard time leaping over that, or leaping over where there's no fuel to come back down. Could it happen? Yes. Likelihood, extremely unlikely. But then if you had asked me before the fire or before the fire spread, I would have said there's a 0% chance that we're in trouble. Then I saw the flames on the ridge and I'm like, there's a 10% chance. And then it's racing down the ridge and I'm going, okay, it's a 50-50 chance. We've got to be ready. In life, the more that you can't prepare for all circumstances. Life is very unpredictable. That's one of the key lessons that we got out of this, is just how much we're not in control. I always like to think of, Days of Thunder, and Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. And she's talking to Tom Cruise. She's the doctor. He's had a concussion. He's wanting to race again. And she's saying, you're an egomaniac. You think you're in control of the race car, but you are never in control. And that's the truth in life. We're never in control. But we can come up with contingencies. We can come up with backup plans as best we can. So then we roll with whatever circumstance takes place. But we know if and when we have to do something about it. And that's what we were doing in this circumstance. We realized we're completely out of control. In fact, I turned to Jessica probably around 2 a.m. as I'm backing up vehicles, trying to get them to the garage, trying to get everything loaded up. And I said, look, Pookie, I said, we may break things while doing this. We may drop things. We may lose things. I may even fender bender the cars as I'm doing this. It's okay. We're going to be fine. In other words, what I was saying is I'm letting go of control, just focusing on absolutely what is most important. Now, with that said, When there are flames in your life, when there is fire in your life, it's a time to remain completely focused. Allow all the extraneous to be just that. Grab what's most important in our case and let all the rest go by the wayside, focused on simply what's most important to you. This, of course, means that you need to stay centered. And in our case, even as the flames are freight training toward us, take nice, slow, deep breaths and get grounded and get centered. Because if you're moving at a panicked pace, bad things happen. And I'm talking worse than a fender bender, which in this case, we're just like, whatever happens. It is so important that when life gets crazy around you, that you get even calmer. I come from a crazy family. I love my folks very, very dearly. My friends didn't like to visit. The few who would visit called it the crazy house when I was growing up. Now, I learned one thing about visiting the crazy house, in quotes, when I would visit my parents as a young adult, which is they're over exuberant in their energy. Their energy kind of barfs out everywhere, positive, negative, sideways, you name it. My job became being the calm center at the eye of the storm. Because if I synced up with their energy, I was going to spin completely out of control. The same thing takes place in a firestorm. If you sync up with the energy of the firestorm, you're going to drive right toward it rather than away from it. How do you do this? Well, part of it is to remember to stay centered, is to go back to the breath. Another part of this is your meditation practice you do on a daily basis. That's your non-panic training, your calm at the center of the storm training, your ninja training for when the flames come up and life, which is why I recommend a minimum of 10 to 20 minutes of meditation for everyone each and every day so that you have practice working these mental muscles so that you can stay centered, so that you can stay grounded, and so that you don't panic. Now, along these lines, I'm talking about focus. Let go of the petty stuff in life. What's petty stuff? Opinions of others of yourself, opinions of yourself of yourself. Anything that is not your single-minded purpose when you're doing something is petty. How's the expression go? Don't sweat the petty stuff and don't pet the sweaty stuff. When it comes to the petty stuff, we're focusing on getting out. Nothing else matters. When you're focused on getting yourself out of a circumstance in life, it doesn't mean trash the car. It doesn't mean trash other things in your life. It doesn't mean trash the relationships. But focused on what's most important and put on horse blinders to the rest. A question that's come up a few times on our show has been, Michael, we take in 4 billion bits of information, but we can only process about 4,000 bits of information. Why is that? Well, because if we focused on the stuff that is off task or off track, we wouldn't be able to get anything done. We wouldn't be able to cross the street. We certainly wouldn't be able to get out of the way of a fire. So when you see yourself packing up for the fire and you're looking at the small stuff, let go of all the details. The next thing is cherish what you do have. Boy, did we go to a place of gratitude when this passed. We're like, wow, house is still standing. Other people's houses are still standing. We are so incredibly lucky. You don't need a firestorm around you to cherish what you have, but it can help. It's an amazing thing about natural disasters and unnatural disasters. It brings community together. It opens up your heart. It makes it easier to see both what's more important to you and to bring gratitude to everything. I want to challenge you. Run through the mental exercise. If something terrible, I'll put that in quotes, happened in your life and you survived and everything was okay, how would you feel about the world around you? What would be your eyes? You've got now wide eyes looking at the world around you. I'm going, oh my God, we still have the house. Oh my God, we still have the cars. Oh my God, we didn't do anything with the cars. Oh my God, we still have the cats and the relationship is repairable. We love you, Lumi, so, so much. So having that attitude of gratitude as if a fire has just passed can help you in all areas of your life. Now, from an eco perspective, We came down from hiking on the mountain a few days ago, not Basalt Mountain, that's on fire, from hiking down Mount Sopris, and we had to come back early because it was so smoky. And Jessica was bawling, and I was really sad myself as we're looking at the mountain in front of us on fire, we're looking at the entire valley choked up with smoke, as we're looking at record high after record high temperature here, the Southwest, Australia, Northern Europe, and drought after drought. And we're going, my God, we have to do something. Now, I don't pretend to have all the answers. We have been neurotically eco at times in our lives and just extremely eco at other times in our lives. And we know we get to redouble our efforts. And we want to challenge everybody to redouble your efforts because things are interesting, to say the least. We live in a mountain home where until 10 years ago, nobody needed air conditioning. And now it's been in the mid-90s, day after day after day, with this dry desert heat. So I'm not trying to preach to the choir here, but I know based on the fires in our front yard, we're going to be making some big changes. I don't even know what they are yet, but we're going to be looking into it and also looking at some very special guests to bring on the show. With that said, we're going to open it up to questions in just a minute. It's been such an interesting time. We've put for you, our YouTube audience, our magical morning routine back on sale just through the weekend at 20% off. You can use the coupon code morning20. Just got to go over to inspirenationuniversity.com. Again, inspirenationuniversity.com. You can also come support the show, become a Backstage Pass member, become a part of the Inspire Nation family by coming over to patreon.com, patreon.com/Inspire Nation. Again, patreon.com/Inspire Nation. We are 100% supported by you, our audience. With that said, I'm going to open it up to questions, and Jessica may or may not chime in. She's typing on the keyboard. So I have a habit of throwing things over to her, and she's not sure what I'm saying because she is your lifeline. But we'll see if she has anything to chime in about the fire. And with any love and blessings, she may come on the mic later this week to talk about lessons that she's learned and that we've both learned, and some humorous situations, because keeping your sense of humor is as important as keeping your head. And there was definitely, once things calmed down, some humor being thrown around. So going to open it up to questions here. Last thoughts. If you see all the sparklies behind us, that is the mountain behind us after the flames started to calm down on the morning of July 5th. Fires sleep, and they go to sleep when it gets cool in the morning and the humidity levels go up. And so this was Basalt Mountain on fire, viewed from across the valley on the morning of July 5th. All right, my chat doesn't appear to be working here. So Jessica, if your chat is working, maybe you can let us know. Oh, wow, I found a way to get it up. Woo-hoo. Maybe you can let us know who has questions, and welcome everyone.
Sure. Our first question is from Shaban Jolly, who writes, firstly, I have a clarity problem in some words like SEI while I speak, and I want some guidance to quickly resolve it.
Okay, so I can't see this and I'm not visualizing. So maybe you can explain this a little bit more clearly to me, Jessica?
It sounds like he has trouble pronouncing words that might begin with S.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the E.
And so screen was freezing. Yes, people, I'm running a green screen tonight. So the first thing is, if you see the screen freezing or anything, please let me know, and I can try going to non-green screen and see how that works.
Everything's okay now.
Okay, so I'm not following the question. We're running into a pronunciation challenge. Is that what's going on?
Well, the second part of the question is, I want to learn how to speak with our breath pace.
Okay, so I so wish I could read this question.
I'll post it again.
Okay, you'll post it and I can read it. Thank you. Then I can understand. So, all right, standing by. Hey, Michael, firstly, I have a clarity problem in some words like SEI while I speak, and I want some guidance to quickly resolve it. Second, I want to learn how to speak with our breath pace. So this is a great question, and it really depends on how long you've had your challenge. It could take a while to correct. Part of speech issues a large part of speech issues, and I don't pretend to be a speech expert, have to do with anxiety and wiring. So anything we can do to bring the anxiety levels down can help. And yes, that is certainly going to the breath. Now, you may also need a speech therapist or a speech expert to untrain habits going on around the S, around the E, around the I. So in such a circumstance, I would throw the kitchen sink at it. I would focus on meditation. I would focus on going to the breath. I would visualize myself speaking clearly, and I would practice. I would literally practice. I've got my little stuffed animal turtle here. I would practice with your pets, with your stuffed animals, working on getting those anxiety levels down and speaking properly. I'd look on YouTube for speech therapists and speech training exercises. And then if the money is there, I would get myself to a speech therapist. As far as going with the breath, and tonight I realized, talking about the fire, I've been overrunning my breath. But to go to the breath, I would practice nasal breathing. There's some beautiful books out there on the Buteyko breathing method, and Patrick McKeown has the most amazing book on the breath. And I would work on practicing breathing in through the nose, down to the belly, and back up and out through the nose. The more you practice breathing through the nose, the calmer you're going to be when you speak, the more grounded, the more airflow for when you're speaking, and the more it's going to take you from a fight or flight response to more of a rest and relax response. With that said, Jessica, I am hearing a buzzing. Is that something coming from outside? Is that the fan on your computer? I just want to touch base with you on this.
My laptop has a fan.
It's
not buzzing.
Okay, but I'm hearing something here. All right, so a beautiful question. I hope that helps. Who do we have next?
No other questions at the moment, but I was just recalling when you mentioned slowing down your breath. I remember when we were frantically packing, my adrenaline was rushing, and my heart was beating so fast. It was so hard trying to calm down, and the best thing I could do was breathe through my heart.
Oh, I love that. Can you share more? What does that mean?
From Howard Martin of Heart Math, and he talked about this exercise to achieve heart coherence. And he explained that you breathe through the heart, you breathe in gratitude for whatever is surrounding you in your life, and then you breathe out love for your life and everything surrounding you.
And how much did that calm you during the process?
It helped. It did not resolve my panic issues.
Your core desire to get the heck out of town?
It definitely helped me think a little bit more clearly. But yeah, the adrenaline was still there. And, I think the adrenaline served a purpose, which was to enable the body to act quickly.
Yep.
At a time of day, or a time of night that normally the body is sleeping. So this is like 2 a.m.
Yeah. And I was going actually to the reverse circumstance. I can remember going down the stairs and telling myself to go more slowly because I'm known for dropping things, spilling things, tripping, all of these things if I'm not present. And so I'm just trying to slow down and slow down more, and then slow down even more, to the point of, I guess if the fire had come really quickly, I may have been too slow, but I was trying to err on that side of not turning into a loon. Your natural state is naturally, I think, calmer and more grounded than me. So you weren't going to over throttle, if that's the word, over rev the engine as much as I could potentially.
Probably.
So, go ahead.
I do tend to keep track of things a little bit better than you to begin with.
So yeah, and I was just trying to keep track of the breath, keep track of me. The only thing that I bounced into is, what did I kick? A kiddie bowl or something, or a little glass bowl. Oh no, was it a? That's interesting. We both cracked an. Oh no, it was my toothpaste jar.
Glass jar.
Thank you. And thankfully, that was the only thing. I do see a few questions coming in. I'm wondering if you can share one of those questions with us.
Our first question is from Lavi, who writes, "Hi, Michael and Jessica. How can we attract better people in our life, or is it just karma?" And Carla also shares the same question.
And Carla and Lavi, it's a brilliant question, and I do not believe it's karma at all. I think too many people, how do I want to put this? We can attract, no matter what has happened in past lives, no matter what we have done earlier in our lives, I believe we can turn a lot of that around. There are lessons. I'm not going to call them karma. There are lessons that we get to learn this lifetime. If we have a health condition that won't go away, there may be an important lesson there. So who knows for later in life? But I believe that no matter our circumstance, we can attract better people into our lives. And Carla, we know you personally, and you have the most amazing, incredible energy. And we would be so honored to be your friends for life. And hopefully we'd be in the better friends category. So energy, it's all about energy. When you crank up that energy, when you crank up that self-love, that self-compassion, and you start to vibrate at a high level, you can't help but start to attract better people into your life. With that said, you may have patterns in your life that get to be cut. So you may keep either attracting similar people because of a stuck pattern, or you may not know how to shed people in your life. To say yes to great friends often means we have to say no to others, not in a cold, cruel way, not in a get out of my life, I'm done with you way, but in a, if the person's not vibrating at the same energy that you are, you may want to only have metered doses with them. We've heard this many times on the show before. You are the result of your 7 best friends, and you are the result of your 7 best friends' 7 best friends. So the people that you have in your life directly affect your happiness, directly affect your success, directly affect everything in your life. Again, this doesn't mean that you have to cut the cords right away, but the more cognizant, the more aware that you can be of this, the more you will choose one group and gently let the others have less of your time. Again, the caveat here that I've made many weeks in a row when talking about this is we don't get to choose our families. We can choose how we interact with them, how much time we spend with them, and how much we meter our energy around them. So with that said, if you want to attract higher vibration people into your life, start working on higher vibration work on yourself, and then put yourself, it's a 2-step dance with the universe. Ask, pray, automatic writing, write it down, dream journal it, do manifestation work, and then step forward. Join a meetup, join a church, join a spiritual group, join a running group, take an art class, a crafts class. Put yourself in environments with the kind of people that you want to hang with. And that's how you're going to attract them in as well. The last thought that I have on this, I think that makes a second or third last thought, is that we often pray and do manifestation work and all of these pieces and even work on ourselves. And then we go, okay, God, source, universe, why aren't people knocking on our doors? Why aren't they here? Because we have to step forward. We have to take that action, which means you get to put yourself out there. So we live in a beautiful community. We're starting to meet the most incredible people. It's coming about slower than I would quote like. Why is it coming about slower? Am I doing something wrong? No. Could I do something more right? Yes. I've been at our house too much. So I know I get to put myself out there more. More farmers market, more group events, more racing or sporting activities that I like. More activities where I'm going to run into the kind of people that I want to meet. And that's what you get to do too. So beautiful, beautiful question. What's next on the fun list, Jessica?
Okay, our next question is from Jacqueline, who asks, why can't I focus? And more specifically, on projects after work. And I asked what time she gets off of work. 1 week it's 2 p.m. and then 1 week it's 5 p.m.
So Jacqueline, this is the age-old question, which is why we made our magical morning routine, which is it is hard to have energy for your project after you've given the better part of your day to someone or something else. It's why, if you can, you want to front load your life, if at all possible. Put your projects first before you go into work. If that's not possible, then I would take a break. I would do something movement oriented. That's me, to reset the clock. Jessica would say, I would do something nap oriented, perhaps, to reset the clock. I would have a buffer of time, and then I would treat the rest of my day as if I'm punching a new clock and I'm going to the job of me. Probably best to throw yourself out of the house, get to a coffee shop, get to a library, get to someplace else so that you're not going to be distracted. When I did a lot of coaching for college students, I wouldn't let them go home. I would say, once you're out, stay out, because once you're home, stay home. So I would say, do something to shift gears, take a little time for yourself, and then go right into a coffee shop, a computer lab, or a library and work on your projects for a while, and then go home. Because if you go home and you really unwind, in quotes, it takes a lot of energy to get you cranky again. We've had guest after guest talking about how the willpower myth and how motivation is in a limited supply, which is why you can say no to that sweet or that drink or that temptation early in the day. But when it comes to mid-afternoon, or forget about mid-afternoon, mid-evening, it's almost impossible to say no, which is why Michael doesn't keep much junk food in the house, or I'd eat it ravenously. But when it's not there, when you've set up your environment for success, you're more likely to find success. Your environment, Jacqueline, is probably to be out of the house, getting things done, and then to come home, and then you can unwind. Again, if you're home, though, use your environment to your success. How do we do this? Set alarms that help you to get on task, that help you to, it could be a shut down Facebook, shut down YouTube alarm, or whatever, and to focus on your task. It could be literally unplugging the internet to focus on your task. It could be getting a coach or simply an accountability buddy that you report back to every afternoon or every few days to help you stay on track. So really set that environment up for success. And sort of like I like to say, sugar begets sugar, TV begets TV, and YouTube typically begets YouTube. So if you can, keep that stuff off until you do what you want to do, and then use it as a carrot, use it as a reward. For myself, if I watch a movie, I graze. I'll spend 20 minutes focused on whatever it is and dive deep a minute or two on my movie. 20 minutes, minute or two, 20 minutes, a minute or two. It drives Jessica absolutely batty, but it allows me to finish a book in only a few hours while recovering the mind. It's something that Dr. Sweeney Pillay of Harvard, he's written some amazing books. One of them, Tinker, Dabble, Doodle, Try. Dive deep, focus, get out, recover. Dive deep, focus, throw yourself outdoors, recover. Dive deep, focus, do something fun, and recover. So those are my suggestions, Jacqueline. I hope this helps, and do everything you can to front load you in your life. Brilliant, brilliant question. Who do we have next, Jessica?
Next, we have a question from Vanna Rose, who writes, do you believe in pre-birth contracts between souls?
Between souls? I believe, so is it Vanna, did you say?
Vanna Rose.
Vanna Rose, I believe in lots and lots of stuff. And I believe that I don't know enough to know what's not possible. So I absolutely believe in this. Can I prove it? No, absolutely not. But do I believe that we have pre-birth contracts? I think that we are here to learn some powerful lessons, and we choose the lessons that we want to learn. I truly believe that we're in front of like a council of elders, and As I heard in a past life regression, I said, give me the works, of which I'm renegotiating now. Kind, gentle, easy, good universe. I don't need the works. I'm learning the lessons. Please, please, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I believe that we came here on a certain path to learn certain things. I believe that's a pre-birth contract. I believe that people will come into our lives to help us on our path. Now, what we feel is help, or what they're doing to help us, may feel like the opposite of help. It may actually feel hellish with the ways that some people pull our strings during this lifetime. But I believe that this lifetime is really, it's important. It's incredibly important. And it's, while we're here, it's the one life we have. And the earth is incredibly important. At the same time, it's a holographic image of something greater. And so we're here, in a sense, in a video game to learn. And when we really get this, and I still struggle to grasp this moment to moment, even after a couple NDEs, it's just hard to continuously remember this. But if you can remember that this is an infinitesimally small blip in the radar screen of our greater lives, then you understand that the characters who come into our lives are all here to serve us, and we are all here to serve them, which means you don't have to feel guilty if you've done the equivalent of a karmic dance with somebody this lifetime. You can send them love. You can go to a ho'oponopono, a Hawaiian healing prayer, but you don't have to feel guilty your whole life because you did the best you could do in the circumstance. Even when your ego is telling you now that you didn't, you did the best you could given the circumstances, and other people are doing the best they can given the circumstances too. But when we lift kind of the shell, lift the shell off of the bean to see where the, is it a bean that they put in 3 different shells, and you mix it around, you lift off the shell and you find what's underneath. When you lift off that shell, you understand and you uncover there is much more going on in our lives and in the lifetimes that we have than we could ever imagine. That helps make it easier. That helps make understanding relationships easier. The one last thought that I have is, I truly believe, and I'm going to call it a knowing in my heart of hearts, that we are all one. We are all one. No matter how badly somebody treats you, no matter how badly they treat you, they are you. Treat them with as much love, kindness, compassion, and if you need to, distance and run like hell if you have to away from them. But if you understand that they are you and you are them, it truly changes everything. It means you can look at somebody, you can look at your politicians, you can look at people at work who are treating you terribly, you can look at anybody anywhere, and you can see beneath the outer disguise the inner wounded child that is you as well, and you can treat them differently, even if only in your heart. You don't need to do a dance with them. You don't need to hang out with them. I love what I heard about the Dalai Lama years ago, which was, they were talking about interviews with the Dalai Lama. I think it was a documentary filmmaker. And they wanted his questions advanced. They wanted him to know how he was going to interact with the Dalai Lama. And they said, the Dalai Lama is happy to entertain your questions. However, if he feels uncomfortable or that you're not treating him well, he will just get up and leave. Now, the Dalai Lama can probably hold space better than just about anybody we know. But why does he need to? And so if he's in a situation with a difficult person that he doesn't need to be, he will simply excuse himself. That's what we get to do as well. We can handle our energy around everybody, but why do we need to? So brilliant, brilliant question. Thank you so, so much.
Our next question is from Jenna.
Yes.
Who writes, I just got news that at 33, I may need a hip replacement due to an old injury. As a professional horse trainer and mom of 2 young children, I'm feeling worry and uncertainty. Advice?
All right, Jenna, I'm going to go way off the record here. I am not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I would never, ever, 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 ever give you medical advice. I have also 2 titanium pins through my hips, 2 titanium femurs. I've had somewhere between 10, 11, 12 different orthopedic operations on my legs, a completely reconstructed elbow, and who knows what else. So with that said, for myself, and I have had several real life or death experiences, I put surgery as the last resort. You can't take surgery back. I would throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at it first. So if I'm being told I need a hip replacement, I'm going to stretching, I'm going to myofascial release, I'm going to self-massage, I'm going to professional massage, I'm going to Feldenkrais, I'm going to Epsom salt baths, I'm going to sitting on a tennis ball. Here is my ball that I literally sit on for my hip. It's actually a squishy, not a real hard baseball, but a squishy baseball. I'm going to yoga. I'm going to Pilates to strengthen my core. I'm going to acupuncture. I'm going to acupressure. I'm going to laser therapy. I'm going to hot saunas and steam. What do we call it? Hot saunas and whirlpools and stretching like there's no tomorrow. And I am going to do everything possible under the sun before I let anybody take the knife to me, because that can't be taken back. And oftentimes it's adding insult to injury. I remember the last knee surgery I had 6 knee surgeries. And by the time I was 12, I guess by the time I was 12, from 10 to 12, I had 6 knee operations. I have no ACL in my left knee. I'm told it's not supposed to work. I run like the wind, relatively. Compared to Jessica, I run like a freight train. I cycle, I skate, I do everything without an ACL. And what my last doctor told me is, Michael, don't let anybody ever, ever touch your knee again. It was a healing process from the inside. And that's the piece I haven't mentioned yet. Visualization. See your hip healing. Feel your hip healing. Do glowing golden light work on your hip. Take an imaginary light pen or a literal pen and pretend that it has a golden light and continuously run it over your hip. Feel your hip glowing. Feel your hip glowing bright. Feel your hip warming up and getting hot even. And imagine it healing. Grab an image of a healthy hip. Burn it into your brain. All healing takes place in the mind. And I almost want to say the larger mind, but all healing takes place in the mind. We have no idea why an antibiotic works when it does, or any other pill, or a placebo effect. It is all taking place in the mind that says, all right, surgery's done if you had surgery, now let's heal. All right, you visualized it, now let's heal. All right, you've taken this medication, now let's heal. So you are in the driver's seat. Now, with that said, if things are broken, literally beyond repair, and that doesn't mean worn out. I've been told so many of my parts have been worn out and that they're needed to be replaced, or that they're going to need cleaning, they're going to need roto-rooting, they're going to need anything. Every single time in my case, the doctor has been wrong. That's what I learned at 12 when I was told that you have so much arthritis in your knee, Michael. This is by another doctor. You're going to be lucky to walk by the time you're 18. I went on to become a professional athlete. So it really is starting first and foremost in the mind. I would go to healers as well. I would get yourself on a John of God bed. I would throw everything, including the kitchen sink after this, first and foremost. And then, and only then, would I proceed with surgery. So that's my opinion if it were me, not for anybody else. Jessica, do we have another question?
Earlier, we did have a question from the gentleman who was asking about pronunciation.
Yeah.
And he was just asking if you had any more techniques. He also has trouble saying words that begin with SH.
Practice is huge. Relaxation is huge. I would look up exercises because, again, I'm not an expert. Look up exercises on YouTube, exercises for SH. You know what would be really cool is to watch particularly older movies where they enunciated properly and just try to mimic the actors. And that could be very helpful as well. You may find there's one movie out there that I found incredibly inspiring. You've probably already seen this. This wasn't a quick fix, but it's a true story from King George VI, I believe it was. And it's an amazing movie. It's won almost every award out there, particularly in Europe, called The King's Speech. And I cannot recommend that movie enough. So I hope this helps. And again, I am such a kitchen sink person. I believe that almost anything can be changed. Anything in the body and almost anything in the mind can be rewired over time. We're talking about fires and overcoming fires. I'm a very calm and centered person overall right now. I used to be the proverbial squirrel on crack, the kid sent to the principal's office day after day, almost hour after hour. I was the poster child for quote unquote ADD. In fact, I was a national speaker for people with ADD. I have completely rewired my mind for calm, for focus, and I can do even better, but for being completely different than I was. And that has taught me that our ability to control the mind is so much greater than anybody ever could have imagined. And if you can control the mind, if you can go there in the mind, you can go there in the body. I'm thinking of James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones, who had an amazing speech impediment. He flipped it on his head. He worked on his voice so much, he became the voice of how many different movies? And of course, Darth Vader, because he focused so much on flipping that impediment on its head. So I know, you can do that too. So with that said, I've got time for just a couple more questions before we wrap things up. Jessica, what else do we have here?
Vanna Rose asks, can everyone learn to do automatic writing?
Absolutely, Vanna Rose. Anyone can learn to do automatic writing. And some of the biggest supporters, if that's the way to put it, proponents, what's the biggest? Advocates, people who have had incredible success with automatic writing, were open to trying, but are going, oh, I really don't know if this is going to work for me. My mind is so strong. How am I going to quiet it? How am I going to dive deep? How am I going to know it's not ego? How am I going to? Over time, automatic writing is a process and a practice, sort of like meditation. Over time, anybody can do it because the words of wisdom are in there for each and every one of us. And what do you mean the words of wisdom are in there? We've all walked down a dark alley and had the hairs go up on our back of our necks. We've all been asked out by somebody and said, no, thank you. We all have circumstances, events, situations in our lives that are beyond the thinking mind where we took just the right action at just the right time. That's our inner voice speaking to us loud and clear. So through automatic writing, a process that Jessica and I teach, we help you to be able to magnify, amplify that voice to hear it more clearly. In essence, what we're doing is help bringing your vibration up, kind of your vibration up to the heavens, helping that tuning fork vibrate at a higher level, and helping bring down that inner wisdom or that higher voice to meet you in the middle. I say that for a specific reason, because when you start into automatic writing, even if you're not getting very many words of wisdom in the beginning, you start to feel better. So many people that I've worked with automatic writing didn't feel good, were depressed, were anxious, were all of these things as they started into automatic writing. And I don't pretend to say anything cures anything. However, they started to feel much, much better, like a layer of darkness or a lead vest of darkness was being lifted off of them as they dove into this practice. Now, as far as the bell curve goes, I found about 10% of people get amazing words of wisdom within the first few weeks, almost within the first few days, to a level beyond even what Jessica and I get. It's dumbfounding. They're turning out poems and prose and lyrics on like day number 1. And I'm going, I don't get poems or prose or lyrics. And I've been doing this for years. Next 10% get words of wisdom about 2 weeks out that are quite profound. The next group of the bell curve, about 60% of the bell curve, you start to get snippets in the first few weeks and get a lot more within the first 4 to 6 weeks. And then that lagging part, if we call it that, of the bell curve, feels much better right away. And they're always going, Michael, I don't know how this is going to help me, but I feel so much better. I want to hang in there with it. And somewhere in that 6 weeks, 2 months, maybe a little bit longer than that, they start to get the most profound words of wisdom as well. It's the one tool, even beyond, above and beyond meditation, I cannot live without. It guides me each step of the way in life. And in fact, when you see me go quiet, when you see me close my eyes, when I start speaking with my eyes closed, in essence, I'm tapping into that place of automatic writing. It's now become so ingrained that as long as I'm out of a place of ego, I can hear it almost all of the time. With that said, I could hear it clearly during the fires, but I didn't go to my automatic writing for 2 days. Things are so flipped upside down and backwards. And when I started trying to write the second day, I actually got out of automatic writing. Don't worry about it, Michael. You have so many things that you have to take care of. We know you can dive back into this tomorrow. And I thought, wow, that's really, really cool. Thank you. So hope that helps. Jessica, maybe you can leave a link for people where they can go to get our automatic writing program. And out of curiosity, do they still, if they get Magical Morning Routine, anything there?
Yes. If you purchase the Magical Morning Routine, when you reach the shopping cart, there is the opportunity to also add on the automatic writing program for an additional $20, which is
huge,
more than, or nearly 80% off, I think. It's normally $97.
Woo! That's cool. That's very, very cool. And if you do those two things, if you put a morning routine in place, that changes your whole world, and that front loads your day for yourself. And that's really what we're talking about. And that's what I got out of automatic writing after the fire settled was, Michael, you need to set your bedtime alarms again. You need to get yourself to bed early again. You need to get yourself up early again so that you can build your day. When you put things before work, before other people, before the man, when you put it for yourself first, your whole world changes. And that's where the magical morning routine comes into play. When you then go to automatic writing, so you're diving into your deepest words of wisdom, you're taking yourself out of the monkey mind, out of what I call KEGO, all the voices of worry and concern going on up here. You need to do this. You should have done that. Why didn't you do this? And on and on and on and on and on. And instead, you go down into a place of love, into a place of compassion, into a place of deeper wisdom, deeper than you ever could have imagined. You take yourself out of the monkey mind. I call this K-heart. All heart, all the time. You take yourself out of the monkey mind. You see the world so much more clearly, and you step out of the paradigm of you. What's the paradigm of you? That's the same old that we're in. We want the same old food, the same old routine, the same old everything. And because of that, it's hard to see big picture in our lives. It's why fires in the distance, relatively speaking, can have a positive aspect. And I'm not talking the literal fires, because I feel so terrible for Mother Earth, for the animals, for people, for everything. But when events happen in our lives that shake us up, that take us out of our traditional modus operandi, we get out of the box, we can see things more clearly, and everything changes. It's why getting uncomfortable is so important. It's why taking yourself to places you never would have taken yourself is so important. It's why even listening to people who have the opposite political views than you, I know that sounds sacrilege, is so important, because it takes us out of our paradigm. When you're outside of your paradigm, the world of possibilities opens up for you. I guess the last thought on this is, and it's something Matt Kahn and I discussed in an interview a few years ago, and it was a beautiful challenge that he laid down, which is every single day to do one thing differently. And I'm continuously saying, what can I do differently than the way I've done before? This is hard for me. I'm a creature of habit. But I know when I get out of that habitual thinking, when I get out of those habitual patterns, everything changes for me. And that is so important, because who you are today is not who you're going to be tomorrow. And hopefully incredibly far from who you're going to be 10 years from now, even if you tremendously love yourself, because life is growth. And the best way to grow is to get yourself off of the couch, so to speak, and get yourself a little bit uncomfortable and continuously challenge yourself. So I think we have time for one last question, Jessica. Do you have one last question for us?
I was waiting for a question from Luna, but I don't see it yet. So I had a question for you though, which is
yeah, go ahead.
After an emergency situation like the one that we just experienced last week with the wildfire, and a few years ago with your accident on the hiking trail.
Mm-hmm.
I know from personal experience, after it's passed and the dust has settled, I just want to like get back into life and catch up on everything and just act like everything's back to normal. Because there's, a sense of familiarity and comfort in being back into a routine. But when we do that, we don't necessarily finish processing all of the emotions that came up during the emergency, and they get stuck. So what kind of advice would you have for people who've either just experienced an emergency or even something traumatic a few years back?
So a few different things. That's a brilliant question. Automatic writing, journaling with self-inquiry, talking with others in a controlled environment, because people like myself, if I talk about the negative too much, my ego actually spills out of control. Much better that I put it on paper and like write down all the dangerous, scary stuff that I dare not share with anybody, and then shred it up. Tapping is huge, and tapping is the one I've been doing on myself this week. Emotion code is phenomenal. I can't say enough great things about Dr. Bradley Nelson's work with emotion code. I was mentioning to somebody earlier who I was getting a ride back to our car with the kayaking, that I believe a lot of people here are going to need some healing from this experience. Healing might be a counselor, healing might be a psychologist, a psychotherapist, but healing may be one of these energetic techniques as well. But I think it's important after an event like this that you take stock of the situation, because repressing emotions never has a good outcome. It always comes back, usually in the form of physical ailments or autoimmune challenges. In my case, it used to come back as broken bones. So stuffing things down comes back to us. Much better to get it out. And I believe the sooner that you get it out, the less that it acts like a splinter in your foot that just keeps getting burrowed deeper and deeper until there's a bigger problem because of it. So if there are fires in your life, literally or metaphorically, I think it's huge to go to a healing modality and start to work on it. And the very first place would be to write about it. Another piece would be, if you can, cry about it. Cry. Get the tears out. If you need to mourn something, I don't think they still understand, other than cleaning the eyes, the physiological reason for tears. Why do we cry when we're sad? I think it's the water carrying out the negative emotions. And so if the tears are right there on the edge, let them loose. Even if you're a guy, especially if you're a guy, because guys, we have the higher rates of heart disease, although women are closing the gap, and we die younger than women. And I believe a big part of that is social. We have no social interaction. And because we have less social interaction, we don't get out our emotions. In other words, we're stuffing it and we don't cry, and we're taught to stuff it. And I think only bad things happen when you stuff it. So get those emotions up and out. If they're there, if they're hostile, if they're angry, if they're sad, if they're shoulda, woulda, coulda, I would write it out in a journal. I call it the better out than an exercise. Write it all out. This is not a warm and fuzzy positive psychology. What you think about is what you bring about. This is a get it all up and out of you. I call it the better out than in. Get it all out and then shred those papers, or I used to like to say burn it, transmute it from paper to ash. I'm real careful about suggesting burning anything right now, but get it up and transmute it. The subconscious does not know the difference between an emotion on paper and the real thing. So when you shred it, it feels much, much better. And then go to your tapping all that you can. Something that we've discussed on many other Ask Michael Anythings. and I'm sure we'll be discussing on an upcoming one as well. And we do have tapping as part, I believe, of our magical morning routine as well. And it's something we talk about often in our classes. We have magical morning routine classes, and we have automatic writing classes where we go into tapping as well as one of our favorite tools. And I have kind of a Michael version of fairly aggressive, I'm going to call it, means of tapping to help you pop. And by pop, I mean to get out those emotions, to help you feel overwhelmed, the rush of emotions, so that we can get them out of the system, and so that we can short circuit the negativity in the nervous system to get rid of trauma, to get rid of what's really potentially a PTSD response, post-traumatic stress disorder response, to emergency situations and to the fires in our lives. So with that said, Jessica, any last thoughts, words, or anything?
Is there time for one more question, or are we all out?
Go for it. I'm looking at the clock very, very carefully, because I coach. For everybody listening to this, I coach in just a little bit. And so I'm continuously looking at the clock, but staying fully focused here on task at hand.
Okay, speaking of coaching, Michael does have 2 or 3 coaching spots opening up in the next couple of weeks. So if you're interested, go to inspirenationshow.com/coaching and sign up for a free 15-minute consult to see if it's right for you.
And if I understand right, because we're usually, we have gaps in the schedule every 12 or 24 weeks, because these gaps came up in the middle of the summer, you wanted to throw it on a summer sale just so we could fill things quickly. Am I correct about this?
Yes.
Woo! All right, and that, my guess is, if it's anything like our sales in the past, it's going to be a huge, huge discount. So if you are looking for coaching, it's probably a good time to sit down, talk with me. We'll see what's there. All right. What it was? Okay. Did you have a last question?
Yes. So Luna wrote, I have a question about taking 100% responsibility in what has happened in my life. And I look around and the process has been devastating to accept I did this all to myself.
Whoa. So, okay, 100% responsibility and did this all to myself are 2 completely different things. 100% responsibility means whatever happened, stepping forward, I am going to step into my power. This whole positive psychology thing, don't get me started on this, Jessica. This whole positive psychology thing, what you think about is what you bring about. Therefore, if badness happened in your life, you caused it. Bogus! And so incredibly disempowering. Poop happens. It happens to the best of us. It doesn't mean that you're not the best of people. In fact, the poop can help you, in theory, long term. But no, blaming yourself, not allowed. It happened. Did it happen because of a thought you had? Theoretically. Did it happen because of bad karma? Theoretically. Did it happen because the plates shifted and you had absolutely nothing to do with it? Absolutely possible. It's Mitch Horowitz, one of the positive psychology or new thought movement experts out there, says war happens. Are you going to say that if 1 million people, 10 million people, if all 6 million Jews are in the Holocaust, that they all must have had bad thoughts and that's why they ended up killed in a concentration camp? Of course not. So you can't blame yourself either, but you can take 100% responsibility moving forward. What does that mean? Forgiveness. Forgiveness is the greatest thing in the world, because to hold resentment is to drink a poison twice, or to drink a poison hoping it hurts the other person. Forgive them. Forgive them, not for them. Forgive them for yourself, to let go of it so that you can move forward. And then step forward with everything that you've got. Do all the tools that we've mentioned today. Do all the tools in the past. Or heck, start with one tool at a time. Follow it through to completion. And do everything in your power to love yourself more, and to love yourself even more. It is a Western philosophy of original sin, of guilt, of shame, of repentance, that we have caused this, that we have done something wrong, that there is something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with any of us. No matter how much you are struggling, you are a perfect divine being having a challenging human experience for your highest good and the highest good of all. You can change that experience. You can turn it into more of an enjoyable experience, but it does not mean anything's wrong with you. It does not mean you're broken. It does not mean you have done anything wrong. And it drives me batty when I hear people pick on themselves. It's not your fault from the literature out there that suggests that if something bad happens to you, you must have caused it. That can bring me to tears because that is the most disempowering thing in the world. You didn't cause it, no matter what happened. It was part of a divine plan. It wasn't you. So now we can dust ourselves off. We can hold ourselves tight. We can treat ourselves with the most care and love and compassion that we can. And we'd say, okay, what can I do to own my future? What can I do to improve my circumstances? What can I do to throw the kitchen sink at my life? And what would love do? Don't go to a place of fear. If you've got fear, write it out, tap it out, emotion code it out, do what you can. But ask, what would love do to pick myself up and move forward in a new direction? I've done this myself. Heck, I've gone the other direction before and almost taken my own life because thought I was broken, because I thought I was, quote, damaged goods, because I thought I had ruined everything, because I thought it was all my fault. I was completely disempowered. Thank God back then from an infomercial by Dr. Wayne Dyer talking about the big enchilada and all the goods that you would get if you bought his program for a PBS special. Thank God for that. What I learned, we are all divine beings having a human experience. We are all pure love. We are all the pure essence of goodness. And if you can grasp even the tiniest fraction of that, and you harness that power, there's almost nothing you can't do. So that's it I've got from here, Jessica. Are we good on your end?
We're awesome. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Wings come up when I do that. That's kind of cool. I am. Wow. So last thought, if you love the show, if you love what you're hearing, come support us. Come on over to patreon.com, patreon.com/Inspire Nation. And I know some point in the next week or two, we're going to be giving away book after book. Now that the fires are past, we have way too many new books from authors here that we have to donate to our family, to our Inspire Nation family. So become a part of the Inspire Nation family. You also, of course, get our daily words of wisdom and much, much more. I send all our love your way, no matter what fires are burning. Remember, stay calm, stay centered, focus on what you must do, on what's most important, and this too shall pass. And of course, get yourself to the river if you can. Just make sure you bring your keys. This is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have an amazing day ahead, and above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Flap, flap, flap. Thank you, everyone.